Hello and welcome to That's Football. Graham Potter is under huge pressure again. He's facing the sack if that's what Chelsea fans want, and I think they do, because we're hearing from Fabrizio Romano that Chelsea will undertake investigations internally and discuss the future of Graham Potter. They've always backed him, they've always talked about the process, the long-term plan, but he is under pressure after a disappointing loss at home again, this time to Aston Villa. What is the future for Graham Potter? Is it right to sack him? Let's get into it. Because, look, I've always been a very pro Potter person. It reminds me of the Arteta days with Arsenal. But look, Chelsea, it's your football club. I'm not a Chelsea fan. I was doing the Talk Sport show last night. I was looking on social media. There's a lot of Chelsea fans that have a problem. But you know what I think? There's a couple of things here. What underpins this is that I was speaking to a Brighton fan on the radio last night, and he said, look, the same thing happened to Potter at Brighton. He didn't have a good first couple of years, and then he turned the club into what it is now. You've got to give him time to build what he's got. He's had no pre-season. You've got to give him time. But Chelsea's not Brighton, and I think the big problem you've got at Chelsea is that the players have got the easiest excuse in the world. That's one big problem. And the fans, some of them never wanted him in the first place because it wasn't glamorous enough. You're never going to get patience if the people at the club don't want to give you patience. And look, I agree he should be given time, quite simply because he didn't get a pre-season. He's definitely a coach that's about system. You can't learn a system when the season's already up and running, and especially not in a season like this where it's so relentless. And also, from Chelsea's point of view, you can't spend £200 million on a manager in January and then sack them in April. It's ridiculous, especially when you've just spent £200 million on Tuchel and sacked him in a couple of weeks. It reflects terribly on the board, but ultimately in football, as we know, the manager is always the fall guy, and the players get away with it and the owners get away with it. But look, the big problem you've got here is the footballers. Like the footballers, I don't know. I hear things that the Chelsea dressing room is unhappy. It's naturally an unhappy Chelsea dressing room anyway. It was an unhappy Chelsea dressing room under Tuchel at the start of the season. So, look, this isn't exclusive to Potter. As a Chelsea fan, it might suit your story to be, oh yeah, the players feel like I do. But those players have been letting you down all year, and those players let Tuchel down. So the reason that the Chelsea players are not happy, or some of them are not happy, is because it's a bloated squad, and a lot of them aren't playing. And a lot of players don't like it when they're not playing anyway. And then when you're not winning, a lot of players have got huge egos with people surrounding them, telling them how great they are. Footballers are simple in the sense that when things are going wrong, they don't want to blame themselves. It's always someone else's fault. Well, here's a manager who's out of his depth. Clearly, this is why we're not doing well. He's a Brighton manager at a big club like Chelsea. I'm not the problem. I'm not playing very well, but that's not my fault. I don't need to take responsibility for myself. It's the manager's fault. And obviously this is the big problem at Chelsea. And if I was in charge of Chelsea, this is the big conversation I'm having, because you can say give him time, you can say that the money's there that's been spent and you've got to give him a pre-season, but ultimately if you're getting feedback that your fan base doesn't want him and the players don't want him, you're banging your head against the brick wall. And it's very unfair on Potter, of course it is, but I think that it's almost like the story was written before he was even given the job. I know Chelsea fans that never wanted him at the start. I know Chelsea fans who vocally, publicly are in the social media world, who've been calling for his head from virtually day one, which is ridiculous. And some people just want to be proved right. Do I think that Potter's got the capability of being Arteta and turning things around and turning Chelsea into a big club? I think it could happen, but he's not going to get sacked before the Liverpool game. So that Liverpool game, I think if he loses that, he might survive the Real Madrid games. And then if he loses those, I don't think he'll see the end of the season. But I'll be honest with you, if they don't beat Liverpool tomorrow on Tuesday night, then it could be curtains. It really could. And there gets a point where, you have to cut your losses and go, look, we made a mistake. But I do think that if they do sack Potter, he will go down as a very unfortunate manager thrown into a situation that's chaotic. Those players are responsible. The owners, I think have just been, I think their hearts are in the right place, but the way they're running the football club is just, it's like a circus. They need some stability, and I'm not sure they're going to get it. And look, as well, I can't believe how many times I watched Chelsea, and again last night they dominate XG, or let's cut it to a more simple level. They create loads of chances and they can't put the ball in the back of the net. I think Havertz, that whoever else they've got must be totally shit, because Havertz playing up front, and I've watched a lot of Chelsea this season, used to be a good player, but he's not a number 9. I mean, I'm almost like put bloody Koulibaly up front. It just doesn't look like a number 9. And I heard Potter talking about Lukaku in the week, and I think you can understand that that's how desperate it is. I don't think there's many Chelsea fans that want Romelu Lukaku back playing for Chelsea, but you'd take him every day of the week at the moment. They spent all that money. I mean, look, you took Enzo Fernandez out of Benfica on a release clause because there'd be a lot of competition for him in the summer. If you were willing to spend that money on that, where was the desire to go and get... Look, I'll be absolutely honest. I think Danny Ings would have you higher in the league. You just need somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net. It's not like you're not creating chances. You are creating chances. Now, some people would say, well, the quality of the chances is the issue, Mark. But the chances are still good. They're good chances. And the better striker you've got, the more likely that they get put in the back of the net. If you put me up front and give us 20 chances, I'm not going to take them because I'm not a striker and I'm not bloody good enough. But if you put someone like Danny Ings up front, or even better, you find a way of going and getting a Vlahovic or someone like that, you fly up the league because goals win prizes. It is not looking good for Potter, and Chelsea fans have got every right to be angry and frustrated. I've been in that position with Manchester United, and I hated it when people were saying, "Oh, I can see signs of this, that, and the other." I can see signs with Chelsea, but I can also see it's a mess. And the thing that concerns me the most is when the fans turn and when the players turn. The fans turning, I can understand, it's their club. The players turning, I can't be arsed with that. And I think the Chelsea players this season need to take a long, hard look at themselves. That team should be performing better. And what we're seeing at Chelsea at the moment, and it's not all of them. I really like people like Reece James, but he can't stay fit, unfortunately. But that Chelsea squad needs to take a look at itself. It's all very easy to say, oh, it's not my fault, it's the manager's fault. You're the ones who put the shirt on. You're the ones who represent that football club. You're the ones who are paid ridiculous money to do it. You're the ones who shouldn't be downing your tools and looking for excuses. When the going gets tough, the players need to stand up, and they haven't done that enough. But having said that, it's not Reece James and the defenders and the midfielders' fault that the striker won't put the ball in the back of the net. They should have beat Villa yesterday. They should have beat them, and they didn't. They should have beat Dortmund in Dortmund, and they didn't. There's been loads of games like this for Chelsea this season, and I just think it was so obvious they needed to buy a striker, and it's left them massively exposed. Football games are won by goals. Chelsea can't put the ball in the back of the net. Now, maybe at some point they're going to go and score 3 or 4 goals and beat someone 3 or 4-0. I think they're on the cusp of that. But that Liverpool game, which we're going to cover as a watch-along on Tuesday night, is huge. Potter's not going to get sacked before that, and he shouldn't get sacked before that. But he's under huge pressure, and the Chelsea players need to deliver. But look, I hope he can make it to the end of the season, and I hope he's given the support in the summer to remove some of the shit in that squad and build a team. It's a horrible job. I mean, we had it with Ranić last season. It's a horrible job when you're brought in. You've got a completely different philosophy to the manager that you're replacing. So you've got loads of players that don't suit your system, that don't trust you, and then you've got no pre-season to get rid of players and talk and get them to play that they want to play. And it is an absolute mess for Potter, and I hope he can survive it to the summer. And also, what I would say to any Chelsea fan that wants Potter to go is that even if you want him to go, I think you've got to get to the end of the season, because you're not going to get Champions League football, you're not going to win the Champions League, and you've got nothing else to play for anyway. I think the worst thing you could do is bring a Luis Enrique in or a Nagelsmann in with 5, 6, 7, 8 games to go, and then they get the problems of a squad that's all over the place. A new manager or Potter needs to get to the summer and be able to say, get rid of these players and this is what I want, and let's get on pre-season tour. And let's be honest, if they do sack Potter, you're just going to have a caretaker manager till the summer anyway. So I just think if there's a chance of Potter, just see it out to the end of the season. But look, that Liverpool game's huge. Smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'll speak to you in a bit.